I found myself on the wrong course at university. I was doing mechanical engineering. It was a complete misfit. And so I was mid-changing to languages. And in the process, I went off to France to learn French. I didn't have any language A levels, so I needed to learn a language. And in the process of doing that, I thought, I'm going to go traveling. I liked kind of traveling, and I thought, I'm going to go traveling. That was what I wanted to do, to travel the world, see more of the world. It's just that what happened was, in the process, I came across Buddhism. And when I came across Buddhism, that wish to travel completely evaporated. It totally evaporated because it was an image. It was a symbol or metaphor. It was a metaphor for searching. I was kind of searching for something. I wasn't really, I mean, yes, it's interesting to go to China and see China and go to France. I lived in France for a bit and go to Germany. It's interesting to see other countries, but actually that wasn't what I wanted. I was actually searching for something, and traveling was a metaphor for that. So there we are. We can think that we're making decisions about our life, but maybe it's not the thing itself. It's actually a metaphor that you're drawn to. And if we take the metaphor literally, we lose the chance of understanding the significance of what we're attracted to. You can go traveling, can't you? And then find that it doesn't quite do it. So actually, symbols are at play in our life. And what the language that Buddhism gives us is a language that enables us to deepen our understanding of the symbols that are at play in our life, so that we can actually take ownership of what we're really kind of drawn by, what we're guided by, the symbols that we're kind of guided by. So that's kind of what Buddhism offers us. It offers us a way to understand at a deeper level the images that are probably unconsciously guiding us to go traveling or whatever it is, so that we can become conscious of what it is that we're really attracted to. So for that reason, we're going to hear the personal journeys of two Buddhists in their unfolding discovery of these two central Buddhist symbols, the lotus flower, which is a bit more accessible. You probably know what a lotus flower is, and then the Vajra, which is probably a bit less accessible. So we'll be hearing about those two. But it's so that we can actually start to discover the symbols that are actually at play in our life, become conscious of them, so that we can own more what is really guiding our lives at a deeper level. So Isabelle is going to go first, Isabelle, and then Maria. So Isabelle's going to talk to us about the symbol of the lotus. And actually, I'm really pleased that it's Isabelle and Maria, because they are good friends. Some of that might actually kind of come through, but it's lovely in the Buddhist community, the community around the center, when you get these kind of friendships kind of growing up, it's like actually everybody benefits. There's something just delightful about friendship, isn't there? Seeing two people who are friends. It's not an exclusive thing. You don't feel sort of that you're not part of this. You can actually just delight in it. So it's lovely seeing the burgeoning friendship between Isabelle and Maria. Very genuine, natural kind of friendship there. So perhaps we'll pick up some of that in the process of hearing a little bit from first Isabelle and then Maria. So Isabelle, would you like to come?
So it's not meditation.
Oh, meditation. Yeah, that's a good point. Oops. Yeah, I've done things in the wrong order. There we are. Can't get it all right, can you? So we'll start with a short meditation, just to arrive and settle a bit more.
Okay, so now, yeah, we are starting the short talks. And the first one is on lotus flower. I just want to say that I'm not going to give a lecture on the lotus flower and its symbols, but more, as Atasidi mentioned, is more like how I relate to this symbol as a Buddhist, in my practice, what is important there for me. However, it is important to say that the lotus flower is a prominent and important spiritual symbol in Buddhism. So it can represent purity, with the flowers of the lotus emerging from the muddy water without being stained. It also represents growth, overcoming obstacles, strength and resilience, spiritual awakening, and in relation to it, also enlightenment, the cycle of birth, beauty, and so on. So there's a lot of symbols linked to the lotus flower. And yeah, when you look at different symbols or pictures and so on, you can see that it seems that the lotus flower is everywhere. So if we go back to the 5 Buddha of the mandala, it's going to be a bit difficult to see here, but and if you remember the first picture that Amarchandra showed us, so in fact we have only 4 there, but the Buddhas are sitting on the lotus throne, and so I can show that around. So also one of the Buddha, the red Buddha, Amitabha, sometimes is represented with a lotus flower in his hand, holding that lotus flower. And also the lotus flower is part of the Vajra that, Maria is going to talk about later. So I think it shows how important and powerful this tantric symbol is. However, at a personal level, I don't really have a hard connection with the lotus flower. I understand more at intellectual level and at some spiritual level its meaning and its symbols. But I think because it's a flower that is originated from Asia, so it's not some, a flower I can see or I could see in my life. So I don't really feel that really hard connection. And I thought, well, yeah, that we have in Western countries, we have the water lilies that is more like similar to the lotus flower. But again, it's not a flower, it's very to see around, so in my daily life. So I've been kind of reflecting on what in my daily life kind of connects me more to what the lotus flower represents as a symbol. And I thought, well, in fact, the lotus flower is a flower, and I have flowers in my garden, and I do feel with that connection with the flowers in my garden, and also, in nature. So how, does it translate, from the symbolisms of the lotus flower to the flowers in my garden? So I think for me, there's something about, and what I want to develop, 2 main aspects of spiritual symbol of the lotus flower. One is about the potential of a profound transformation And the other one that is interrelated to the first one is the emerging of unexpected wisdom. So how do you do that with your flowers in your garden? So going back to these flowers, so each year I feel, yeah, for me, I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel really deeply moved and in awe when, you know, there's the emerging of the daffodils. It seems like, you know, by magic, they are there, you know, in your garden. And they are growing from deep in the ground, you know, like the little flower, yeah, growing from the mud and water. And, you know, they're growing after a long winter when on the surface you feel like life has paused. But at the same time, deep down, there's something really powerful happening and really supporting this growth that's going to blossom and blossom in beauty. Because I think we are really touched by this beauty, especially after a long winter, grey winter, you know, this kind of bright, vibrant yellow. And also for me, I like also the shape of, you know, the flower. I feel also that's part of feeling that heart connection with it. And the color, in a way, you know, like the smiley faces, they're yellow. And I feel like it's like the daffodils are smiling to you, you know, after a long winter. And I think that's kind of warming my heart in that, you know, their beauty and the fact that life is back. Well, I can see that life that's communicating to me. And this transformation is happening because the flowers have been, or the plants, not just the flower, the plant has been nurtured by the ground, the sun and the water. So if we transport that to Buddhism, we can transport it to the rituals, how they have an impact, you know, on us and in our potential and capacity to grow and to blossom. And leading us to kind of let the beauty emerging and being seen by the world. So with a beautiful analogy with a garden, I can give more kind of a practical example of how I translate that in my life experience. So the one that came to my mind was like 2 years ago. So I changed of job. So I had a promotion within the NHS, but part of it meant I had to travel twice to London to a new office, which means I had a commute about 4 hours each time, which is quite long. So I was going to a new place, new job, new responsibilities, more responsibilities, having also to connect with a new team. On top of that, I was given notice by my renting agency that I needed to move out of the house. As you know, you have only 3 months to do so. So I had to manage what was happening, you know, at work level, but also in my personal life with kind of what can be very tiring and stressful when you have to change of house. And I've been living in this house, well, the previous house for 9 years. So it was a lot to go through and pack and so on. So what have so some years ago, I think the way I would have managed and engaged with this kind of situation would have been to come from the fighting mode, which can also be quite tiring. because you can constantly having to push yourself, but also it's more like, it's not very creative. You come more from a reactive side. But what happened in this occasion is I just noticed that I was stressed, I was tired, but at the same time, I was okay, I was fine. And that was really surprising for me because that was not my usual experience. And I also could hold the anxiety of having to find a place as soon as possible to stay with what was important. It for me was like to not only find a place, but also to learn that place and space as well, because I was going to stay there. So for a while, that was going to be my home. So I could just stay with this and not go for the first place I could rent. And I was not, it was also very different for me to stay with this. And the other part as well is I could connect and relate to my new responsibilities, embrace them in a different way. Like the fact I had to commute twice a week and engage with all that new environment with my work. At the end, I tried to negotiate with my workplace to stay and work from home, which could have been possible. That was not making such a huge difference to work there. But they decided that they didn't want to because that was the rule. And I could see that initially the first response was, okay, obviously I was not really happy, but not decided, something just was released there, kind of, and I could really accept and embrace that situation rather than fighting it, which means in a way I could more appreciate what was there and also build a good relationship with the team I was working with. So, as I said, that was something I was not expected. It came by in a way, it surprised me, and in a way, at the time, I was feeling a bit unsettled by it because it was like, what's happening there? It's like I couldn't recognize myself to some extent. But I can see that this was coming from years of really nurturing deep down, this nurturing coming from the three jewels, the Dharma, the Sangha, and the Buddha, and having engaged with it. And slowly, like the flowers, it's like something is happening deep down in you. And you don't always see the transformation that, it's kind of generates. But in that kind of situation, extreme situation, is when it really shows, how much that has been a transformating process. And that's quite moving to see that, because in a way, it's not something you control, it's just happening, but it's happening because you are engaging with something that has really a deep meaning and supports that transformation. And I was talking about, the unexpected wisdom as well. And so, and I think it's that, as I mentioned it a few times, I was not expecting to react that way or to manage that way. So I just felt I could relate to a different place within me, and that was kind of helping me to get to that kind of wisdom again, where it was coming from. I don't really know, but it was there. That was my experience. And I can relate that in terms of flowers, when sometimes in your garden you have suddenly a new flower that's going to grow. You didn't plant this flower, it's coming from somewhere else. But it's fascinating to see that flower, that's kind of adding its special beauty to your garden. There's something really precious about that. So yeah, I think that's for me how I relate in my practice as a Buddhist and in my daily life with, you know, the lotus flower and yeah, the symbols attached to it. So I just want to finish with yeah, a quote that I kind of like and can be used to any flower, although it's related to the lotus one. So it says, like a lotus flower, we too have the ability to rise from the mud, bloom out of the darkness, and radiate into the world. Just repeating, like a lotus flower, we too have the ability to rise from the mud, bloom out of the darkness, and radiate into the world. So that's the first part. Just before giving my place to Maria, just wanted to let you know that my daughter and I, we did these origami lotus flowers. There's more than one. So I will put them on the table during the tea break. So if you want to take one to put here in a shrine, if you have a shrine, or just, you know, to keep in your home to see how you relate with the lotus flower. So please do so.
Great, thanks very much, Isabelle. That's really, really lovely, wasn't it? It was such a good illustration of how we need images. You know, that what you shared with us was much better communicated, conveyed through the image of a flower, wasn't it? That quite sort of beautiful process that was much better sort of conveyed. Yeah, by that image, that so familiar image of a flower. Thank you very, very much, Isabelle. And now we have Maria, who's going to talk to us about the Vajra.
Right. Well, everybody knows that this is a Vajra, I guess. But I think from the symbolic point of view, this is a representation of pure energy and also a representation of reality. So as Isabelle said, it's sort of got this sort of central piece, which is where it's held. And then it has these two kind of lotus bud type things with pointy ends coming out of it. And these lotus buds are formed from a number of prongs. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 7, as in this case, sometimes even more. And these prongs are representative of different energies. So in the Tantric symbols, energy is, everything is seen in terms of energy. And this thing is quite heavy, sort of quite a chunky thing. It's about, what, 35, 40 centimeters long, something. And it's a weapon. It's a weapon for smashing through delusion and breaking through into reality. That's what this is for. And it's got all this energy in it. It's like a nuclear bomb. When it hits delusion, it blows it apart and it releases all of the energy that was trapped in the delusion, and it makes that energy somehow available for transformation or for use. So who wields the weapon? It's wrathful Vajrapani, who you may or may not have seen pictures of. So wrathful Vajrapani looks like a giant blue troll. He's got a huge belly. He's decorated with human skulls. He's got skulls all around his headdress. His hair's on fire. He's got fire and flame all around him. He he looks like he's dancing. He's holding the Vajra up here. That's why I keep doing this, because I'm channeling Rothfull Vajrapani. He's in a standing pose. His face is full of fury and anger, yeah, fury and wildness and great bulging eyes. The Vajra looks like he's about to hurl it. And he looks like he's dancing, but he's not dancing, he's trampling on human forms. And that, when you first look at Vajrapani, you think he must be a demon. He's trampling people to death. He's looking as brutal and fearsome as possible. So he looks like a very wild demon, but actually he is trampling human forms that represent willful ignorance. So human forms that represent delusion without any intention to try to transform that delusion. So he's stamping it out, he's crushing it. And he's about to hurl the Vajra. And if you get hit by one of these things, that's going to hurt. Right? And I was trying to think, okay, so we know that Rothfull Vajrapani, he's one of the three protectors. There's Manjushri, there's Avalokiteshvara, and there's Vajrapani. And Vajrapani has two forms, and I'll come on in a minute to his other form. But in his Rothfull form, he is providing this sort of free, wild energy that is needed for us to develop wisdom and compassion. So you can't get enlightened without energy. That's what this Tantric symbol is saying. And this brings together all of that energy. And trying to think about it in terms of our lives, I thought, well, in many ways, we all sort of know what it's like to be hit with the Vajra. Okay, it happens when you've been living in your little world of ego and fantasy and hopes and expectations. You've been telling yourself that everything's all about you. You've been indulging in wishing that things were different from how they are, or telling yourself stories that they should be different from how they are. You've been living in this completely enclosed little world of self. And suddenly something happens that makes you aware that the way you're seeing yourself is not how the other people are seeing you, right? The way that the stories you're telling yourself is not actually how it really is. The things you've been treasuring and cherishing of your hopes and your fantasies are nothing. They're built on sand. You suddenly realize that the people you're depending on, or the situations you're depending on, they're not there for you. And then suddenly you're thrown out of that little world into the very uncomfortable actual situation. And what do you feel in that situation? A common way to feel is a sort of humiliation or shame or something deeply uncomfortable. It can be very, very hard to learn from those situations because we want to avoid them. We definitely want to push those situations away from us as quickly as possible. And the only way that you can actually learn from those situations is to transcend yourself. And that's why Vajrapani is surrounded with fire, because that's the fire of transformation and self-transcendence. So what Rothfull Vajrapani is saying is smash the delusions, crush them all, burn them all up, burn up all that stuff that you're telling yourself, and get all that dissipated, wasted energy together, pull it back in, take control of it, bring it in, unify it somehow, make it available for use or for following the Dharma path. Right, so that's Rothfull Vajrapani, but there's another way to see energy, and that's his other side, which is peaceful Vajrapani. And peaceful Vajrapani, so before I talk about peaceful Vajrapani, let me just emphasize that Rothfull Vajrapani is not some being external to us. He's a mental state. He is this mental state that you are in when you decide that you are going to confront your fears and hatreds and all your sort of delusive characteristics. So you decide you're going to confront those. Then you're in wrathful Vajrapani mental state, right? So there's that opportunity that I mentioned of gathering in the energy you've been wasting on all these hopes and fantasies and trying to use that energy for something pure. And that brings us to peaceful Vajrapani, who is the absolute opposite of wrathful Vajrapani in appearance, because wrathful Vajrapani looks like an orc. It's just like a hideous, monstrous being, although a being for good. You know, he's full of positive energy. But peaceful Vajrapani is a beautiful being. He's also blue. He's beautiful, slender, elegant. He sits like this. He's got his hand open and he's got this Vajra. I can't actually balance it, so I'm not going to try. Just balanced on the palm of his hand. Right, it's just balanced there. And wrathful Vajrapani is holding it up here, like ready to throw it. Peaceful Vajrapani is just going, look what I've got. And what has he got? He has got this beautiful integrated energy, unified energy. All his energy is available. It's there. It's perfect calm and poise. And it's like the quintessence of being a completely integrated, perfect being. And again, you've got to think, how does that make sense in our lives? Well, we also, as well as also sometimes channeling wrathful Vajrapani, sometimes we are channeling this beautiful feeling of calm integration and purity and knowing exactly what it is that we're doing, why we're here doing it. And we're just like, yes, this is it. And we all have that. I sometimes get that feeling in the kitchen, funnily enough, when I'm cooking on retreat. It's like, yes, I know what I'm doing. I'm on top of this curry and I'm totally happy and I'm in my space and I'm doing that thing and I'm at complete peace with that activity and all my energy is in it. We call it being in the flow, don't we? People can be in the flow doing things like playing musical instruments or painting pictures or something or cooking, whatever is their thing. And that this peaceful Vajrapani gesture of balancing the Vajra captures that. So, so there's these two sides, and they are two mental states that are coupled, and we each have them both, and they're both within us all the time. And it's a case of, you know, sometimes we're more often in the deluded state where we need wrathful Vajrapani to come and overtake us and hit us with the Vajra. That's the state we're in when we're wasting and dissipating our energy and losing it, just letting it go. Imagine all your energy just ebbing out of you and going into these wasted directions that are taking you further and further away from your goal. And then there's wrathful Vajrapani insisting on bringing that energy back in, and peaceful Vajrapani showing us what we can be when that energy is integrated. And I think basically to be a Vajra being, right, the one who aims to have the balanced Vajra, what we have to do is we have to know that we are actually powerful and potent and vigorous, not weak and pathetic and liable to be distracted and deluded by every little boring distraction that comes along and takes our energy away. We're potent. We can choose to confront our fears and our fantasies and all of the stuff that we construct around ourselves. And when we do that, then we are following Vajrapani's path, and we are using this thing to get us closer to enlightenment. Thank you.